Okay, welcome everyone to the virtual potluck. So excited. I'm going to watch you all cook. So Ashley, take it away.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm gonna spotlight myself,
Spotlight. Yeah.
and then I'm gonna spotlight my overhead view so that you guys can see the chopping action. There's not a ton to these recipes, but for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ashley, and I write about food and recipes at Big Flavors from a Tiny Kitchen. I'm in Ossining, and I've been loving doing these programs with Diana in the Ossining Library. This month's theme is pizza and flatbread. So today we're going to make a falafel spiced chickpea flatbread with homemade tzatziki. And then next month's theme is desserts. So on next Tuesday, actually, it's usually not 2 weeks in a row. It just fell this way. Next Tuesday, October 5th at 7 p.m., we're going to have a cookbook discussion about dessert cookbooks. Bring your favorite dessert cookbooks. Let's chat. It's a lot of fun. If you don't bring cookbooks, you're still welcome to come and chat, and I will just show you some of my finds. We never even make a dent in my stack of cookbooks that I bring to talk about, but it's a lot of fun. And then on Tuesday, October 26th at 6 p.m., we're going to be baking a new recipe that I developed. Recipe cards to come soon. Peppermint hot chocolate cookies. They're ridiculous. They're very good. Really great for the holidays. And then in November, our theme is holiday cooking. And then in December, it's entertaining because I know, there's a lot of parties for the end of the year and things. So I figure we'll do some more festive, versatile recipes for those. And yeah, so if you're cooking along today, we're going to make the tzatziki first, and then we'll preheat the oven after. I'm only using it to warm the flatbread. So depending on whatever flatbread you got, like I got these stone fire naan. I happen to really like the flavor. So I have 2 pack of like the regular size, and then there's some mini ones. So I'm going to stretch this to feed me, my husband, and my son. If you're feeding 4 people, you might want to double because the recipe serves 2, but it's a generous 2. So on these, it says, bake at 400 for 2 to 3 minutes. So I'll preheat the oven after we make the tzatziki, but it's just really to warm it lightly. You don't have to warm them. And you can use like a full-size pizza crust if you want. There's lots of options. And also, don't be shy. If you need to ask any questions, you can put them in the chat. You can unmute yourself. We're friendly, usually. And it is raining. That's our thing. So this recipe is a scaled down version of one that a friend of mine who used to have a restaurant in Tribeca. It was a sister restaurant to Gray's Diner up in Hudson, New York, which they bought an old diner and they revamped it, and it's they make everything there from their family farm. So they make everything down to the ketchup, the condiments, and everything. So they had opened a burger restaurant called Gray's in Tribeca, and they taught me to make this lamb burger, and this was the tzatziki recipe he gave me, but it's a little bit different. I made it a little bit easier. So we're using already made Greek yogurt. If you ever do need to have thicker yogurt and you want to try straining your own, you can use cheesecloth. Like if you have like regular yogurt that's a little runnier, you can use cheesecloth and let it strain over a bowl, or you can use one of these little, this is a bag for making nut milk. So you can put it in there, hang it. I'll hang it off of one of these handles and let it drip over a bowl for like an hour or whatever. You can also do it in the fridge. And that's how you can turn regular yogurt into Greek style. That's a little thicker. So for this, we're gonna take 2 cups of plain Greek yogurt. Make sure you get plain, not vanilla. They look very similar. And I know I say it whenever I use yogurt, but trick me once, shame on you. It's not good in tzatziki to have vanilla. And then I just stir it. If there's any liquid that's separated, you just stir it up and that's fine. And you don't have to be super precise with this. I'm just doing it in a container that's got measuring lines on it and a lid because I'll stash it in the fridge while we make the other things. So about 2 cups of that. And this will make enough likely for you to have a little extra. It's great to dip fries in. It's great just with pitas as a dip. We eat a ton of yogurt in my house, so I've like no shortage of ways to use it. You could even just like dip pieces of vegetables in tzatziki. It's a great addition to an appetizer spread. So with this, I'm gonna do half a cucumber, peeled, seeded, and diced small. My friend, I traded her actually some of those peppermint hot chocolate cookies, and she's like, "What can I give you? I have cucumbers in my garden." I was like, "Awesome." She said I got the bad end of the deal, but I don't think so. So normally I buy seedless cucumbers, but that's fine. You only need about half of a normal sized cucumber. And then I'm just gonna peel. And then I have a tip if you haven't seen this before. I'm not gonna say it's life-changing, but to me it's kind of life-changing. If you've been to any of my classes where we've used cucumbers before, you've likely already seen it. But there's this little loop on most vegetable peelers, and you can use this to pull the seeds out of things. So I'm gonna cut my cucumber in half lengthwise, and then just use this little hook, and you anchor it in where the seeds are, and then you just kind of like, it's very slippery. It just peels them right out. It's like really, really easy. You can use a spoon to do that. You could cut it smaller and like cut it on an angle to get them out, but this is really easy, and I never knew it was kind of like a little bonus tool within there. You could also, you could grate the cucumber if you like it really small. You can leave the skin on if you like. I do sometimes with regular cucumbers. The skin kind of bothers my husband's digestive system, I guess you could say. So I'm peeling it, and the seeds would just make it kind of watery. That's all. That's the reason I'm taking them out. And then just making them nice and small. A similar recipe that uses a lot of the same ingredients is masakiyar, which is a Persian cucumber yogurt sauce. I use regular yogurt for that, but I mean, any type of Middle Eastern food, I love having some sort of cucumber yogurt sauce with it. Also, Indian food, raita is pretty similar. It's just like a nice, like cool, refreshing type of thing. All right, so just scooping those all into there. I'm gonna throw these in the compost bin. All right. So once you have your cucumber in there, we're gonna do, so for the tzatziki, we need 3 large cloves of garlic. For the flatbreads, we need 2 cloves. So I'm gonna just do 5 at once. I don't shy away from garlic. You could certainly do a little less, but I feel like tzatziki it's usually pretty garlicky. For the tzatziki, you want it to kind of almost be like a paste. So I'm gonna chop them, I'm gonna like mince them, and then I'm gonna separate about 2 cloves worth for the chickpeas. And then the other 3 cloves, I'm gonna really work down kind of into a paste. And yes, I'm doing 6, not 5, because I had some small ones in there. Does anybody have a favorite local Greek restaurant or Mediterranean restaurant? Because I know a lot of people are very much into Lefteris over in Terrytown, which is good. But if I was going into Terrytown, that area, my choice would be Santorini. It's on Valley Street in Sleepy Hollow. It's kind of like a little hole in the wall, but it's very authentic and it's really, really good.
With you all the way.
Yeah. I don't know who said that, but was that Diana?
No,
Oh,
I like Lefteris.
yeah,
Sherry.
isn't it so good? And they're just
Phenomenal.
I mean, I will say, like, I've had interesting service there before. Like, I used to waitress, so I get, like, things are busy, but I had somebody actually take my iced tea out of my hand while I was actively still drinking it, like, to clear the table. And I was like, it's a little odd, but but the food is so good, I don't even care. I was just like, okay, I guess I'm done drinking that now.
I sort of feel like the service is a little authentic and the food is more authentic
Yes.
than Left Terrace.
100%. Like, they have autographed pictures of Greek celebrities that I have no idea who they are on the wall. Like, it's great. My son loves their he ordered like calamari. It was like, oh no, octopus. It was like pieces of grilled octopus on a bed of lettuce, and he was in heaven. And their avgo lemino, I don't know if that's exactly the right way to say it, but it's like a chicken lemon soup, is really, really good. And like, souvlaki and all that stuff too. Not Greek, but Middle Eastern, Turkish here in Ossining. I never know how to say it. Is it Milike? It's Melike, but it's not Milike. But their food is very, very good too. And they have a platter that has tzatziki and hummus and baba ganoush and like the roast smoked eggplant dip. And
Where are they located?
they're on Main Street in Ossining, like next door or 2 doors down from First Village Coffee.
Great, thanks.
Fantastic. So we sometimes will do like the please put the rest on. Yeah, I will. Absolutely. So Santorini is in Sleepy Hollow. And then Milike is in Ossining. And I always try to listen if I call in an order, and I can never hear how they say it. Like, they're too fast. So I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it. So I've separated like 2/3 of it for the tzatziki and 1/3 for the chickpeas. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some kosher salt. I'm just gonna sprinkle it on top of this garlic. You could do this in a mortar and pestle. That would actually make a lot of sense. But I sprinkled it right on top, and I'm just gonna like press my knife down and drag it to kind of encourage it to make a paste. So like really, really getting it fine. My friend, his recipe originally was like, do this overnight, which it'll taste even better tomorrow, but you don't need to wait that long for it, I don't think. And you can totally, no judgment at all, use store-bought tzatziki if you want to make this like quickly one night. There's zero problem with that at all.
Okay, I'm cheating and I have store-bought.
That is absolutely fine. I am like all for whatever makes things easier for you, or if you just don't have the ingredients, or you don't have the time, or you don't want to, there's no problem with that. What brand did you get?
I actually ordered it from Fresh Direct, but
okay.
I do buy a lot of it's Armenian and Mediterranean food at Yarnoush.
Yarnoush, oh,
really great.
I love that place.
It's right by the county center on Central Avenue there, next to the so I go there quite a bit. They have right now I have a Greek feta and roasted pepper.
Nice.
It's nice to spread. I have their hummus, and they make great spinach pies, like the homemade things, lentil.
Yes.
What she makes in the kitchen right there, because I talk to owners all the time.
She's so nice too.
Place, yeah. The baklava.
Yeah. They have a great selection too of like dried fruit and nuts, and it's not usually as expensive as other places. They've got a lot of oils and like jarred goods. If you need like pomegranate molasses or rose water, they have that kind of stuff there. And the other place that's like in the same general area is Shiraz in Elmsford. Is it Greenberg? It's like right by where you work, right? So they have a restaurant, and then like a door or two down is a market, and they have all sorts of great Middle Eastern ingredients. And yeah, I'm half Persian, so I'm always like on the search for a good Middle Eastern market. Okay, so we've got garlic, cucumber, like the garlic kind of paste, cucumbers, some salt. I'm gonna add 1.5 teaspoons of sugar, just like regular granulated sugar. I would have never thought to add that in if they hadn't told me to do that. And I tried it and I was like, it really does add a little something nice to it. And then 1.5 teaspoons of lemon juice. So this lemon, I'm gonna squeeze about half of it. Should be about half of a lemon. You can always taste it and add more if you want. And then the other half I'll cut into wedges to go with our, like on the side of our flatbread. And again, another tip that I love that you may have seen before, but I always thought you put the lemons in with the curve like this when you used a juicer like this, but you put it in this way, and then this compresses it. So when you squeeze it, you're just kind of left with this little pretty dry lemon half. It's pretty handy, but you absolutely do not need a juicer. You can squeeze it with your hands, put your hand underneath to catch the seeds, or you can stab a fork in there, squeeze it around there. All right, and then we're gonna add 1/4 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, which is like, it adds a nice deep flavor to it. There are vegan Worcestershire sauces because there's anchovies in here if you ever, if that's of interest to you and you don't want to do any animal products. And then I'm just going to throw a little black pepper in there also. And then I think that's it for the tzatziki. I'm just going to taste it. A lot of times it needs either a little more salt or a little more lemon. Just give it a good stir before you taste it. Yeah, I'm going to do a little bit more salt and lemon. All right. And then I'm just going to cover it and put it in the fridge to hang out while we make the rest of the meal. Which again, this one comes together really quickly. And I came up with it because it was like all the flavors of falafel, which I love, without having to like fry things. So it's a little healthier. Well, I guess it's a lot healthier depending if you bake or fry your falafel, and comes together much quicker. All right, cover that. Everybody doing all right that's cooking along? Give me a thumbs up or cry for help. All right. Oh, I'm also working on, with my husband, we're trying to come up with a recipe and instructions for a poultry rub before Thanksgiving, because I actually don't have any like whole turkey posts on my website because my father-in-law always used to make the turkey and I never had to. But the time has come, and we smoked a chicken the other day and it was very, very good, but we got a little late start. So we were eating dinner at like 9:30 with a 9-year-old, which was interesting, but on a school night. But it's very good. And then I made a gravy to go with it. And so I really hope I can get that posted before Thanksgiving. All right, I'm just gonna wipe my board a little here. And then we will move on to our chickpeas. So I'm gonna preheat my oven. Since my naan says 400 degrees for a couple minutes, I'm just gonna preheat it now so that it's ready when I'm ready. Just make sure. Sometimes we have a cast iron skillet hiding in there. All right, so I'm gonna take a can of chickpeas. Again, you can very easily double this because you're just kind of cooking the chickpeas in a skillet. So this is just a regular 15.5-ounce can. And I'm gonna drain and rinse them. And again, I'm kind of kicking myself for not thinking of a good way to use the Aquafaba, which is the liquid that's in here. Maybe I'll save it. We'll check back with me next week. We'll see if it's gone to waste in my refrigerator, but I'm gonna save it. because you can use it as a vegan alternative to egg whites in baking. It whips up like meringue. It's crazy. I've seen it be done before. I just don't often use it.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, so the liquid that's in a can of chickpeas is called Aquafaba. So if you drain it out, this stuff right here, you can actually use it, and a lot of vegan bakers use it. You can make like a meringue, like egg whites. It whips up, if you use like an electric mixer, it whips up just like egg whites. It's pretty incredible. I'm not sure why chickpeas and not other beans. I'm not really sure. But yeah, there's tons of resources online for ways to use that. But I never plan it for when I'm going to use chickpeas for something that I need to have a recipe to use that for. But trying to get better with planning things and wasting less. So I'm just kind of draining the excess water off of here. All right. And I will save this in the refrigerator. I have a friend who makes those little like meringue cookies that you pipe, and they're really nice and fluffy and crinkly. I've had them, they're delicious, and they use the aquafaba instead of egg. She has an allergy. All right, so we're gonna heat a tablespoon of olive oil or whatever cooking oil you have that you like. Gonna put it over like medium, did I say medium? Moderate heat, so like medium high. And once that gets a little warm, I'm gonna add this reserved 2 cloves of garlic, and then the spices, which are the spices that I put in when I fry falafel: cumin, coriander, paprika, and salt. And if anybody's interested, I can share the recipe that I use for like actual falafel. I don't use dried chickpeas. I do use canned, and I don't peel all the little skins off because you can do it like for like super smooth hummus. Like there's this little skin. I don't mind the texture of it. It bothers some people, but it's tedious to remove. But you can buy bagged chickpeas that are dried that don't have that skin on them. I think probably at a Middle Eastern market would be your best bet, or a health food store if you were looking for that. So I'm gonna take the garlic, put it in with the oil, and then add a half teaspoon each of ground cumin, coriander, and paprika. And if I'm going too quickly for anybody on adding ingredients, tell me to slow down. Or if I'm not going fast enough, I can like charge up the batteries and I can go faster. And as soon as the spices hit the pan, it just like already starts smelling so good. Yaranoush, the store that I think Joanna was mentioning, they also have really great feta. Like they have a selection of different types of feta in different types of brine, and it's just wonderful. Just showing you here. So I just have the spices and the garlic, and I'm just gonna do that for a minute or so until I can really smell it. And then I'm gonna add the chickpeas. Oh, look, I said to do it, put the chickpeas in first. It doesn't matter. It's a very low maintenance one. So put those in. And then I'm gonna add, let's see, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And I always write like 1/8 of a teaspoon of ground pepper. It's just a few turns of the, if you have a grinder. If you're using already ground, you could just add in a little pinch. So pretty much with the chickpeas, we're just stirring to coat in this spice mixture and just trying to get them to warm through. So it really doesn't take that long. So while that's happening, we'll just prep our toppings for the flatbreads. I'm gonna turn it down to like medium low, just since we don't need to do much to it now. For toppings, I like to do some tomato, thinly sliced red onion, tahini, sriracha, cilantro, parsley, and lemon wedges. But you can do any combination that you like. Whatever you tend to like on your falafel is totally fine. It's just the combination that I happen to like. And if you're able to find tahini in a squeeze bottle like this, there's a couple brands that make it like this. It's so much easier because it just squeezes right out. And normal tahini in a jar, it separates, so you'll have to stir it. Otherwise, you'll go to spoon it on and you'll get like a clump of sesame paste and then oil, which will still be delicious, but it won't have quite the same effect. So I'm just gonna slice my grape tomatoes in half because they're pretty small. You can also, nah, my husband's probably gonna want them smaller than that. I do wanna show you though, this other trick that I have. If you have a bunch of small tomatoes like this, you can use a deli lid. So these are like what you would get at the Olive Bar, and you put it inside of one. I'm gonna rinse them off, but you put it inside of one, and then the lip is up, so it holds them in, and then you put the other one lip down, and then you slide your knife through there, and it cuts them all in half, like one fell swoop. Works for things like grapes also. So that's, if you want them just in half, it's a super fast way to do it. So I just cut like a whole bunch of tomatoes in half really easily.
Ashley, that's brilliant.
Is
Love
it?
that.
I think I got that from Rachel Ray years ago. Like,
Wow.
yeah. And we keep the deli lids, and then every year or two, I'll switch them out for new deli lids. So, and then the other tool I like for cutting tomatoes is a little grape cutter. That's for like if kids, you don't want them to choke on grapes or anything, but it works great for something this size. And it's got a little cross serrated blade in there. And so you just push down and it quarters them really nicely and quickly. So that's another great, like, quick way to do it. It's just, I mean, it's only saving you a couple minutes, but if you're in a rush, it could make a difference. So since I cut these in half, I'm gonna just slice them a little more. My garden is actually just now producing like a decent amount of grape tomatoes and cherry tomatoes. Like it didn't do great during the summer, but now it's like, oh, the weather's gonna get cold. Let me give you a whole bunch of tomatoes to use. So I'm like, all right. So the toppings, I'm just kind of prepping them and getting them, I'm gonna like line them up in piles on my board. And that way when we go to assemble, everything is just like, everybody can put on their own stuff. Like my son probably won't want red onions. Me and my son will want more tomatoes than my husband will. So you could totally serve this, with like a make your own on the table and just do piles of all of the toppings, give everybody a warmed flatbread and go to town on it. Just gonna give this a little stir. And once we're almost done, I don't, depending on what your flatbread says, mine says, the mini ones say 1 minute. The bigger ones say 2 to 3 minutes. I think I'm gonna be bold and bake the little ones for 2 to 3 minutes also. But these ones, they're toaster sized also, which is pretty cool. So you could toast them if you wanted to. All right, I'm gonna do some thinly sliced red onion. When I'm doing a falafel sandwich, I'll kind of, sorry, go ahead. Oh, My vegetable garden seems to understand and put forth the effort now too. Yeah, I don't know what this year. It's just like, I mean, I'm glad most of it didn't get ripe like while we were on vacation back in July, because I feel like we usually get our first tomato right before we go out of town, and then it seems pretty steady. But yeah, this year it's been a little weird. Where was I going? Oh, when I make falafel, like fried falafel for sandwiches, I like to put it in a pita bread, and I don't use tzatziki, but I'll do slices of cucumber, and then I make a yogurt herb sauce with cilantro and parsley and lemon and stuff. And I'll just kind of stuff all those and some sliced tomatoes into some pita bread. Really, really good. And my neighbor, her and her husband are from Egypt, and well, now that because of COVID, I haven't gone over there because they're elderly and we're staying distant, but I want to learn how she makes her falafel, because she uses dried split fava beans, not chickpeas. And it's, she makes them for me sometimes in there, and she makes baklava. It's so good. I'm going to learn her ways one of these days. Cause man, that stuff is delicious. I'm cutting up some fresh parsley and cilantro also, just kind of mincing it so people can sprinkle on however much they want. And then I think I'll throw my naan in the oven. If you do make this, I'll mention it before people eat it. If you take a picture of it, I would love to see it. You can either email it to me, or you can share it on social media. My handle on most places is @BigFlavors. I always love seeing when people make my recipes. It's really cool. And just the fact that we're all kind of like those of us who are cooking today, like we're having the same meal, even though we don't live in the same place. It's just one of my favorite parts about the whole online cooking class thing. So I'm gonna place some of these naan on a baking sheet. Honestly, you could probably just put them right on the oven rack. You can do this on, they have even smaller. So like this is the regular size, and then this is the mini one. They have itty bitty ones that it would be really cute on like an appetizer board. Had to refrain from buying all of the naan, but I'm gonna do like a little mini one for my son. And you could also do like a giant pizza dough crust, like a big one, and then just kind of slice it up. So into the oven for 2 minutes, or whatever your directions say. Alexa, set a timer for 2 minutes. Seems silly, but even if I don't set it for 2 minutes and then I forget, we'll have burnt flatbread. So then I'm gonna take my lemon, just cut it into wedges for anybody who wants to squeeze some over. And then is that it? Tomato, red onion, tahini. Yeah. I wanted to show you, if you're doing like a bigger size flatbread, like a pizza size one, there's the wheel shaped pizza cutters. But if you have room for one of these guys, it's a giant blade. But the cool part is you just like go like that once and it goes right through the whole pizza. Pretty handy. And it comes with a little protector, which is nice because it is very sharp. But there's something kind of satisfying about like just rocking a blade and having it cut. I don't know what it is. The ones with the wheels always, I feel like I have one. I use it, but I feel like it always like kind of half cuts part of it, and then I got to go through it, and then you get like weird random strips of pizza. But just be careful if you're cutting it on a board that you don't want like knife marks on, to transfer it to like a cutting board, because some serving boards aren't really for cutting on. You can also use a regular knife. So let me get a, no, I'm not going to get a plate. I'm just going to do it on the, well, now I'll get plates out. I'm like changing my mind on the fly here. But this would, if you wanted to kind of fill this out and make a bigger spread, you could serve it with stuffed grape leaves. They sell those at Yarnouche also, homemade ones that are very tasty. Alexa, stop. Stuffed grape leaves or baba ganoush. There's a lot. Honestly, Trader Joe's has some canned and jarred things like that that are delicious. I was a little leery of a can of stuffed grape leaves, but they're very, very good. And they have some stuffed grape leaves has meat in them. So just if that's something that you don't want to eat, make sure you look. I eat meat, but I prefer my stuffed grape leaves without meat, if that makes sense. So
I have
ready
a
to-
question.
yes,
Is your naan hard or it's really soft?
my
I used
naan,
it- Yeah.
it's pretty soft. So like if I go
Okay.
to the oven just kind of makes it like a little pliable. It depends on the brand, honestly. I find I really like this brand Stonefire.
Yeah.
But a lot of, yeah, it's really, like you can see it just kind of warmed. A lot of stores keep it by the front door or really close to the deli case. And I don't like that because then the cold air from outside or the air conditioner causes condensation inside here. And then sometimes I think it makes them go bad faster. So you can just like freeze, you can freeze these right in the bag when you get them. So on here, it'll tell you like bake it, you just double the time from frozen. So if that's helpful. Shiraz Market has really, really good pita bread and naan and stuff like that, but they are a lot thinner, just as an FYI, because I used it to make pita chips and they cooked a lot faster because they're much thinner than I was used to. So I'm gonna grab my tzatziki. Again, it'll be, if you can make this earlier in the day, that's great. You can make it ahead of time. It gets better the longer that it sits, even after a couple days. So I'm just gonna put a big ol' scoop and just spread it around, leaving a tiny bit of space around the edges. For my family, I'm just gonna serve them whole with a fork and a knife, but you could cut it into wedges if you wanted. Even one like this, it's pretty if you cut it into little triangles or whatever. So we'll do a little of that. And then sprinkle some of these chickpeas that smell awesome. And this recipe is one of the ones that has been made by people from all over the world on Pinterest. It's really cool. Like I get to see my recipe on tables from everywhere. It's really, really neat. But it's been a big hit. And it's easy. And I've had it in my mind to play around with some alternate flavor profiles with something like this, because it's a really easy thing to put together. So to be continued. Just sprinkling some of the red onions on here. Some tomatoes. And also the colorful toppings are always really nice. That, and I've got some parsley and cilantro. I like both, but if you only like one, you could do either. I usually just throw a lemon wedge next to it. And then I like it a little spicy, so I throw some sriracha on top. You can also harissa, like a Moroccan chili paste. And then I've got my tahini. So you can see it comes out much easier out of a squeeze bottle than the stirring kind. I'm running low and I'm trying to find another bottle. I think I'm gonna have to go to Whole Foods or order it online. But that is all there is to the flatbread. Really, really tasty. I hope those of you who made it along with me enjoy it. And then, like I said, we've got lots of good classes coming up. And next week is our cookbook discussion. It's usually about 2 weeks later, but it's next Tuesday at 7 p.m. talking about desserts. So it's always interesting too, I feel like, to see what types of desserts different people gravitate toward, because I grew up in the Midwest, so there was a lot of like very Midwestern comfort food type of things. Like our holiday gatherings always had a lot of like casseroles that had cream of whatever soups in them and stuff like that. And since I moved out here, it's not quite as common. So I always like hearing about other people's holiday traditions. And
Ashley, where are you from?
I grew up in Indiana, and then in middle school I moved to Wisconsin. And then I tried to go to art school in New York. I got into schools out here, but if you're out of state, you get zero financial aid. So I couldn't afford it. I was like, I got into SBA, and then I can't afford that. So I stayed in Wisconsin until I graduated, and then I moved out here. So a little slower than I anticipated, but yeah, there's definitely like one of my favorite Midwestern desserts that was at all of my family gatherings was a rhubarb custard pie. And it's one of the recipes on my website that I'm working on updating the post. I had taken new photos and everything. It is so good. And I feel like most people know strawberry rhubarb pie, but this rhubarb custard, it's tangy, and it's just very different than what you would, than anything else I've had with rhubarb. And there's also in Indiana, it's not like the state dessert, but they have a thing called sugar cream pie, which is just as like crazy sweet as it sounds. All you need is a little sliver, but it's very good. And there's also like a kind of big Amish population, so there's a lot of like interesting candies and stuff. Yeah. So I'm just gonna do this. This would totally stretch to 4 servings depending on the size of your naan, I think, because I've got the 2 big ones, 1 little one, and I still have a little, maybe 3. I think it might serve 3. That's one of the things I've been working on. Is I've had my website since 2006, so I'm going back and testing some of the old recipes that I wrote that maybe, I didn't used to think necessarily about, like a portion size or specifically measuring certain things, like when a recipe calls for 1/3 of a cup of chopped carrots, it's saying 1/3 of a cup of already chopped carrots. If it's saying 1/3 of a cup of carrots, comma, chopped, that's like a totally different amount. And just like, the more you know, things change. And so it's trying to make things better. So constantly coming up with new things, improving old ones. And I love sharing them with you guys. So this has been a lot of fun. And I hope everybody's kitchen smells awesome that's cooking along.
Yeah, everybody should show us what they made.
Yeah. I've got one with no onions. That's mini for my son. One with lots of onions and one with copious amounts of tomatoes. Oh, yes, Sherry.
Oh, nice.
Beautiful. Joanna's sprinkling over there.
There you go.
Oh,
Oh,
very
nice.
Sherry. Oh my gosh, yeah. It looks so good. Doesn't
Awesome.
colorful food just make you smile? I don't know. At least it does for me. Awesome. Yeah, enjoy. Have a great dinner. And I hope to see you guys next week, guys and gals. And if not, our next cooking class is on Tuesday, October 26th at 6 p.m. And that's the peppermint hot chocolate cookies that are ridiculous, I think. I mean, my neighbors lucked out when I made those. Thank you all so much.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
so much. I'm all excited.
Yay!
Thank you.
Yay.
Thanks, Sam.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.